welcome to episode 60 of Little Big Knits. This is a podcast about knitting primarily, and my name is Selma. Selma Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. And I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada, where I live with my family, minus one because he's in Montreal, and our cat Yoda, who's somewhere around here. And I'm coming to you on a cold, crisp February day. I hope this podcast finds you well. Grab a cup of something. I've got my cup of fennel tea with me in this mug by Knit Swag that Kelly produced for me. She's on Etsy, Knit Swag, and if you are interested in a mug with your name or someone else's name on it, it's a good size tea mug or coffee mug or, hey, anything else you want to drink in here, I suppose. But she's got lots of different patterns and they're really lovely. And yeah, so anyway, I'm drinking my tea out of here today, and I've got some finished objects and works in progress for you and a couple of little acquisitions. And so I think we should get started. What am I wearing? I am wearing a sweater that I made a couple of years ago, I think. This is the YUME sweater, Y-U-M-E, by ISABELLE KRAEMER. And I made this, I think it may be 3 years ago now. I'm not 100% sure. I made this out of Ancient Arts Revival. Ancient Arts is a Canadian yarn brand coming out of, I believe, the West. And this is a combination of yarns. It's a wool mohair blend primarily, but there is a little bit of nylon, a little bit of acrylic, and a little bit of silk as well. It's a little bit of a rougher yarn. I actually have a skein left, and I had thought about making the ripple bralette, one of the ripple bralettes that I made out of it, but when I swatched, I realized this is going to be too rough. It's got a bit of a hairiness to it. But it's a stunningly beautiful color, and it's a lovely sweater, and I like it very much. Although I have to say I haven't worn it a whole lot this year, so I thought, you know what, let me get it out. I find what happens is that I'll put a sweater on one day or a vest or whatever, and I end up wearing it for a few days, and then I realize, oh, maybe I should change. So I think what will happen now is that I'll be wearing this for the first days of the week for sure. So this is what I've got on today. So let me share some finished objects with you. I've got two for you. The first one is this glorious pair of socks that now that I'm going to be showing these to you, I can start wearing, especially because we had a bit of a lull in the cold, and now it's gotten cold again, so I'm looking forward to wearing these, but I wanted you to see them in their perfection before they get worn on my feet. This is a pair of sports weight socks. The yarn is from Roots and Rain, Donna, who's here in Ottawa. I've mentioned her several times. And this is a sort of a sports weight sock that is 80% Canadian yarn and 20% nylon. And Donna is a natural dyer. So this is dyed in indigo. And the base is kind of a grayish base. So you just get this beautiful heathered yarn. Actually, I believe that Donna had an update. So if you're interested in checking her yarns, she'll probably have some still in her shop. But I am so excited about these. I'm excited to see what they're like to wear. I know that they're going to be very warm. First of all, they're a little thicker, and then it's also a non-superwash yarn. So yeah, very, very, very excited. Got them on these wonderful sock blockers from Patricia of P4 Chen of Knitography. She makes such beautiful birch sock blockers and mitten blockers and stitch markers and different things made from birch from her farm, as well as patterns and all kinds of things. So anyway, this is my first FO today. Extremely, extremely happy. The pattern is also Donna's pattern. It's called the Northern Comfort Sock, and you can buy it on Etsy along with her yarns. So yeah, really, really happy. Looking forward to putting these on. I'm actually going for a walk later with a friend, so I think these will be on my feet. So that is my first finished object of the day. My second, and oh, by the way, one thing I want to say, that this is part of the Little Big Knits Connections MAL. I am hosting two make-alongs. This one is a make-along, so it's not only for things made with, or knitting. It could be crochet, it could be weaving, it could be sewing, quilting, anything you like. And the idea of that make-along is that you are either using yarns or patterns that have been gifted to you. The yarn and the pattern of this beautiful pair of socks were both gifted to me from Donna. So thank you, Donna. Or perhaps you're making something for somebody else. It could be charity, it could be someone in your life, whatever. So the idea is around connections with other people. So this was a lovely knit for that make-along. So the other finished object that I have actually pertains to our other knit along, which is for the West Village skirt, which is a pattern that I came out with, when was that? I think it was December 29th, so a month and a half ago. And we've got a knit along. Lots of people have bought the pattern. We've got a few people making the skirt, some finished objects already. And here is mine. I was working on this last time. Here's my skirt. It's a bit wrinkled because it was in the closet. I'll put some pictures of me somewhere wearing it because I took some pictures for Instagram with different outfits just because I couldn't decide which one. So I just thought, well, why don't I do all three? So you'll see those up above. I've been wearing it over leggings or over tights here around the house, although I realized this is the thing about me. I can like 99% finish things and then wear them without them being completely finished. And that's exactly what I've done with this skirt. I realized I've been wearing it and I've still got the safety pin on the elastic, and I've just been wearing like that. So today I think I'm gonna be a good knitter and podcaster and actually completely finish the darn thing so that I can wear it and be completely proud of my finished object. But yeah, it fits very nicely. So I thought, oh, let me see how it feels. And then it was comfortable. So I didn't bother changing it. So, but there it is. I made this version a little longer than my previous versions. This is made out of Briggs and Little Regal, which is also a Canadian yarn from New Brunswick. And this is a worsted weight yarn, and this is in their sort of a charcoal gray color. So as you'll have seen from the pictures, it comes to about mid-thigh. I actually wanted to make it slightly longer, then somehow it's longer than my other one, but not as long as I thought it would be. But it's really, really great. And the thing about these skirts is that they don't ride up. They stay where they are. So even if it's a little bit more above the knee than I had originally intended, it never goes higher up, it just stays there. So it's very comfortable. And yeah, I've been wearing it around the house. And one day when it was crazy cold, I actually put it over my jeans to give a little bit of extra warmth. And so yeah, it's been a great knit so far. And this yarn is it's quite rustic. It feels like it's going to last a long time, and I could see myself making a cardigan or some sort of other piece of clothing out of this. So I'm glad to have tried this yarn because I don't think I'd ever actually knit with Briggs and Little yarn. Yeah. So if you are knitting the skirt or interested in knitting the skirt, feel free to join the knit along. Both knit alongs have hashtags, which I've been putting along down here. So we will, you can also show your works in progress or your finished objects on Instagram if you are there, or you can come into Ravelry and join the group there, the Little Big Knits group, and there are two threads, one for the LBK Connections MAL and one for the West Village skirt. Conversation and finished objects are all going into the same thread. So there you go. All right, so those are my 2 finished objects for today. Actually, I kind of lied. Because last time you'll know that I was knitting a little sock and I also finished it. So I showed you last time that I had made this wee sock with some of the leftovers. This was actually, oh my gosh, was this 4 or 5 grams? So if you have 5 gram minis, cast on is 24 stitches, and you can make little wee socks. Now I made a second one. So this was made out of the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn that I used for the socks that I finished last episode or showed you last episode. And then I made some with the sock yarn that I used for the heels and toes, which was the Sandnes Garn Sisu, which is here. But you'll notice that there is a definite size difference. The red, it's not a huge difference, but big enough that I think that, you know, it's noticeable. So this sock yarn is definitely plumper than this sock yarn. So I'm curious to see what happens in the end. I might use this for something completely different and try and focus on sock yarns that I have that are perhaps a little bit of a lighter fingering rather than a heavier fingering. And I'm in the process of making a 3rd sock. And this is out of Bergère de France in their Gumi. I have this skein of pink that I used for some heels, toes, and cuffs for a sock. And I'm now using it for this little mini sock. So this is a really, you know, fun little project that I do here and there. And if I make 1 a month, great. If I get excited and make 2, great. You'll be seeing this here and there whenever there's a sock finished. And I'm gonna keep it in this little sort of Christmas-like bag because the intention is to have a string of socks as a decoration for next Christmas. Although that red sock may become an ornament instead if it really is out of line with all the other ones. So that's my first finished object. First a work in project, finished object and work in project. Okay, let's try and speak English. Finished object and work in progress. Okay, the next one, which I'll show you just quickly, is the stripes sweater. I won't tell you about the yarns. I'll keep that until the end when this project is finished. So this is the stripes sweater by ANDREA MOWRY. And you will recall last time that I had finished the increases, but I had tried it on and I thought it was a little tight. And I was like, I was a little confused. So this sweater and I have had some funny mojo together. I think we're on a roll now, but it was a bizarre beginning. So first, if you were here last time, you may recall that I forgot to do one of the increases. So I had to pull it back. I did that increase, then I went back to the last increase and I tried it on last time and it was tight and I was really perplexed. So after the podcast, I was looking and I thought, what is wrong here? And I counted my stitches and I had the stitch count for the size below the size that I was supposed to be making. So I had made the increases according to the next size down. So the sweater was going to have 0 ease, which is very funny because Bente of Arctic Crafts, she's the dyer behind the Arctic Crafts yarn. I happened to be watching her podcast and she had done the exact same thing. She had made the size below. So what I decided to do was to add a 5th set of increases, and now it's got really the lovely ease that I wanted. I wanted this to have a really relaxed, swooshy kind of fit, if possible. And I'm actually just at the bottom. I'm at the point where I have to decide, do I stop here? Do I go on a little longer? I tried it on, I thought I should go on a little longer, then I thought maybe I should do the ribbing, cast off, block it, and see what happens, because this is all superwash yarn, so there could be a little bit of stretching. So I may do that. I'm going to finish off with the bright pink, so I may go and do the bright pink ribbing and then wet it and block it and see what happens. And if I realize it's perfect, that's great. And if I realize it's short, then I'll just rip back the ribbing, add on a stripe or two and do that. Yeah, so the fit is really actually quite nice, and it's got a nice amount of ease. I had thought about doing a bit of an A-line. I had seen a project on Ravelry where somebody had done a bit of A-line shaping here, but I realized partway down that I'd totally forgotten about that. And then I thought, you know, it's okay because it's got the ease that I wanted, so it's fine. But yeah, so far, so good. So far, I would say that the puckering I was nervous about doesn't seem to be happening. I was worried about the puckering that I'd seen on some projects on Ravelry, but it seems to be fine. So we're just gonna keep on going with this. And maybe next episode I'll have finished it, or maybe one arm. I'm not rushing on this, but it is a nice, enjoyable knit here and there. I wanted to share a discovery. I know these have been around for a while, but it's my recent discovery. I've got the sleeves on these silicone, they look like licorice. I'd like to eat them. It's good that they're not black or red, but these silicone, what do you call that? Ropes kind of thing. These are by the Knitting Barber. I got this one at Espace Tricot when I was there at one point in the fall, and they have a little hole in the center where you can stick your needle. You need a pointy needle, and pull it through the knitting, and then hold your stitches that way. So it comes with 2 shorter cables, which are perfect for sleeves, and I've got my 2 sleeves on here, but then there's also a longer cable that you can use for the body. So it comes with 3 cables, and I think there may be different lengths of cables that you can get. But this has actually been a fabulous discovery, and I'll definitely be using it, and I use it to try the sweater on now. I used to look for another longer needle that was either the same size or smaller, and that works. But because of the slightly sticky nature of these cables, they stay on the knitting, so you don't have to worry about a needle slipping out and having to pick up stitches after. They're really quite handy. And although I usually don't have more than 1 sweater on the go, I wouldn't be opposed to getting a second set just for those times where, you know, I've got some that are being used by a sweater and I need them for another sweater as well. But for now, I'm really enjoying them. They've been extremely handy. So there you go. The striped sweater, that's the back, and that's the front. So once I finished it, I'll share all the different yarns with you, but it's been really, really great using up some yarns in my stash that were, you know, partial skeins, and it's being held in this bag by Buku, which I show you every time, which is just a perfect bucket where you can just throw 8 skeins of yarn. They're not, some of them are full, some of them are half, and so it's really great. Plus a notions case. So that is work in progress number 1. The next one, which I showed you in some form, I believe, last time. Had I? I have to check my notes. I did show it to you. It's in this bag by Harrington Bags, which is a great sweater bag for a smaller sweater, I would say. This is KOYAMAE, this is her Outlander series. And in here I have the Noux sweater, which I am making into a vest. So I don't know where I was last time. I think I may have just started it. But I have now gotten through the color work. I finished the sleeves because I'm turning the sweater into a vest. So I just did a few rows of stockinette with some ribbing. and I've lost the game of yarn chicken. That's where we are with this. So I had been given 2 skeins of this beautiful wine color yarn called, I think it's called Winterberry by Blacker. So also part of the Little Big Knits Connections Mal. This was yarn that had been given to me by my friend Kate for Christmas. It's in the Blacker yarns in their Woodland base, which is a new base. And this is the Forest Berry, not Winterberry, the Forest Berry. And I swore that I would have enough for the body because each skein is 350 yards and there was yarn up here. So I thought, oh, for sure I'll have enough, but I don't. So I've probably got enough for about 2 more centimeters, maybe an inch, but it's not quite long enough. The original sweater has color work at the bottom, and I thought I could do that, but I really didn't want to do that. That was not the vision I had for this vest. So I decided to just bite the bullet, buy the yarn, and I'm waiting for it. I just bought it a couple of days ago online, and so when that arrives, I will finish this. Otherwise, I was going to work on this like crazy to get it finished because I really, really wanted to wear it. It's worked out really great. There's a little bit of puckering happening up here, but I'm expecting that that's going to work itself out when I block it. If it doesn't, I decided that I will cut the knitting and knit up and do decreases instead of increases, and then it'll probably have a different look. But I'm going to wait, block it, and see what happens. But it fits very nicely. The vest has a nice fit. It just wasn't going to be long enough with just this. So there you go. Otherwise, I probably would have had a finished object because I would have knit into the wee hours to get this done. Very nice pattern. Really, really, the color work was wonderful. Actually, quite nice color work for a beginner, somebody who's doing color work for the first time. So a beginner color work pattern, it's really quite nice. So if you're interested in trying color work, this is so rhythmic and easy. It's great. This is an older pattern by SUVI SIMOLA, who's a Finnish designer. And I've been wanting to make it for such a long time. I've had it in my queue. And so although I haven't made it into a sweater, I'm making it into a vest. So that is work in progress number 2. Well, I guess those little mini socks count too, right? Anyway. And then I was approached by a knitting friend, Nancy Wheeler. She is a New Brunswick knitter, and she's designing a pattern. And so she asked me if I would test it, and I was very happy to test it because in fact I had finished those socks, the Northern Comfort socks that I showed you earlier, and I have the Linea socks upstairs, but they require brain space. There's cabling and different stuff happening on them, and I thought, am I ready for that? And then just then Nancy contacted me, and I thought, fine, I'll do another pair of socks. These looked like they were going to be simple. She tested the West Village skirt for me, so I wanted to be able to test for her as well. So she is going to be releasing in the next couple of weeks, I would imagine, and I'll share that once she does on my Instagram probably. She is knitting a pair of socks called the By the Shore socks. So they will be By the Shore socks by Nancy Wheeler. And I was actually away, and I was at a cottage last weekend and had 0 cell service there. There was no service whatsoever, except if you were snowshoeing in the middle of the lake, and then suddenly you'd hear bing, 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 because in this one spot there would be service. So on the way back, I wasn't driving, somebody else was driving. So when we got cell service, I saw that there was a message from her asking if I was interested. So I came home, I went into my bag of yarns from the Lucky Dip Cal that Kate of the Hawthorne Cottage podcast hosted last year. And I thought, let's see what yarns I have. And I pulled out this yarn that had been in my stash for a long time. that was a gift to me. So this is another entry for the LBK Connections MAL. This was a gift from my friend Donna in Germany. And this is and I think I have lost the tag now. Oh, too bad. This dyer, unfortunately, is no longer dyeing yarn. But this was Herbstblatt Regina. She was a German dyer. And this was her, I think it was her hazel sock base. And in the Melting Snowman colorway. And this was in my bag for last year because I really wanted to knit it up and I didn't. So when I saw it, I thought this will have the perfect speckling for this sock, which has this lovely stitch pattern there. And it's a cuff down sock that you can do all one yarn, or if you wanted, of course, you can always add different yarns here. So I decided to use this yarn up. Thank you, Dana, for the yarn. And use a yarn in my stash, some Patton's Croy that I thought would go very nicely, which is kind of a bit of a gradient, and if that's what you call that. And this is the colorway 2021-02, I believe, but it's sort of a very nice rustic rust kind of color. So it's a gradient. So here it's darker, here it gets a little lighter, and then it changes over the toe. Really lovely pattern, Nancy. I'm looking forward to, I've started my second sock already, and I'm looking forward to having used up this yarn and having this lovely pair of socks. So I've just last night started the second sock. So yeah, so look out for that pattern. It's going to be a great, lovely, simple sock pattern that just has a lovely little detail on it. So there you go. So those are all my works in progress. So what am I going to be casting on next? That's the question for myself, at least. I have two things that I intend to cast on soon. One is with this beautiful LOPI yarn. This is the oatmeal color 085. This is the natural color 51. And I'm expecting to make the Drama by Jennifer Steingass. I've been looking for a colorwork sweater where this will be the main color and this will be the colorwork contrast color. And I've had lots of different ideas, but I think I've settled on the Drama by Jennifer Steingass. I also was thinking about the Holly sweater. What's her name? Hanerimen, I think her name is. But I think I've opted for the Drama. I started swatching on 4.5 millimeter needles. I'm gonna try with 5 millimeter needles and see how I like that fabric. And then I'm gonna make my final decision, but I think I'm going with the Drama, I think. Stay tuned, let's figure it out next time. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think that since I have to wait for the yarn to come to finish the Noux, I'll probably get this going this week. The other thing that I am hoping to cast on soon is the KOYAMAE by Joanna Ang. And that I'm hoping to make as a vest as well. In fact, it was a vest version that I saw in, I'm quite sure in Knitted in Yarn, that made me go, that's what I'm making, with my Knitted in Yarn in this Sinne colorway. Sinne or Sinnen colorway. I had swatched this, I had showed this to you a while back, swatched it with some Shibui Silk Cloud in this Julie Hoover colorway. So I'm hoping to start that too. I'm thinking that in fact what I might do is do the color work on the LOPI sweater and then start this. But we'll see how this actually plays out. But these are the two things that I am hoping to start soon. This LOPI yarn will also be an entry for the Connections MAL, because this is what I bought with a gift certificate that I'd received for my birthday in June. And I'd received 2 gift certificates, one from my friend Kate and another from an anonymous viewer. So thank you to both of you. And yeah, so now it's going to become a sweater. So those are my upcoming cast-ons. All right, so if you've made it this far, I also wanted to mention that I was thinking about doing a giveaway, because I was given 2 patterns to give away to viewers. And so I wanted to, let's just do that right now. I forgot to mention at the very beginning of the podcast. So CHERYL Toy, who's a designer and a fellow Canadian, and I met years ago in Picton in the Prince Edward County. She has designed a unisex cardigan called the Olympia cardigan, and I'll put a picture here. It's a beautiful cabled double-breasted cardigan that could be worn by a woman or a man. In fact, on the pattern page, it's being worn by a female and a male. And it looks equally fabulous on both. And CHERYL Toy has given 2 copies. So I thought that I would give you guys a little prompt for comments below. Any comment will be an entry, unless you tell me you really don't want to win it. But any comment will be an entry. But if you would like a prompt, the prompt is, what's your favorite make? Or the make that you're most proud of? So either what's your favorite make, and favorite might be you think it's the most beautiful, it was the most meaningful, it's the one you wear all the time or use all the time, or one that you're really proud of. So yeah, so what I'll do is that you can, any comments, as I said, below will be an entry, and then before the next podcast, so in about 3 weeks, I'll draw 2 winners to receive this pattern. It's beautiful. And if you think you would never knit it, you could always tell me who you would like to gift the pattern to, and then it can be a gift for that person, a connection for that person. So yeah, thank you so much, CHERYL, for that beautiful offer. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous cardigan. And so beginning of the year, as you know, we all make all kinds of resolutions, or we have our words for the year, and my word for this year was health, with a large component of connection. And January was very much a reset month for me. I did the 30-day yoga challenge with Adrian, which was really good because I'd really lost my yoga mojo. I used to do yoga every day. I did a yoga teacher training a few years ago, which was for myself more than anything. So that was really great. I was, trying to get rid of the things that I started to eat that have crept into my life, like too much sugar, because that is probably my biggest addiction, is sugar. I don't have other food addictions really, except for sugar. I don't drink a lot of caffeine. I like it, but I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I like it, but it's here and there. But sugar is one that's really bad. So January was a great month that way. And another thing I decided was that I would make myself monthly pledges of what I will or will not buy in terms of yarn, because I really feel like I've got a lot of yarn. I want to knit through the yarn. And I thought what I'll do is at the end of every month, if I've actually kept my promise, I'll allow myself a treat of some kind. So my treat for January was to get a copy of the Shetland Trader. And I blame Amy Palko. If you watch the Amy Palko podcast, you'll know that she knit this sweater, the Bear, recently. And some Melissa of Mel Makes, I believe, is also making one. And then there was Taylor Owen, who was also making one. And I was like, these are all so beautiful. So I bought the book. But I have to say, this is not the only gorgeous pattern in here. There are so many beautiful patterns in here. There's this pattern, which I have to say, I don't love the colors on this particular version, but it's reminiscent of a pattern that I had seen in a vintage knitting book, actually, and had made a photocopy of. So very happy to see that in here. And I think a great, kind of like the striped sweater, would be a great pattern to use leftovers on. There's this sweater, which I just love. It's very simple sweater with color work on the sleeves. There's a beautiful dress pattern in here, which I am very excited about. Oh, where's that? There she is. This dress pattern, which is really beautiful. Yeah, just really gorgeous. Even this shawl is beautiful. It's an absolutely stunning book with so many gorgeous patterns. I really like this. I don't think I would make it, but I really like this. It's just so adorable. I'm not totally opposed to it because I keep looking at it and I just think it's really, really cute. It's almost like a dress vest. So just an absolutely stunning magazine, and I really, really like the fact that they have been size inclusive, because it's difficult for me to know how something is going to look on a person like me who's a little bit bustier. You know, I'm not tall and slender, so I'm really grateful to see models who represent me a little bit more, and help me see like, oh, that does look really nice. Oh, like I love her in this sweater. I really, really love that sweater. So anyway, this was my treat, and I have been looking at this all the time. I did decide to buy some minis to experiment for the color work, and it just so happened that Melissa of Alley Cat Yarns, who's a local dyer to me, had just put up a post for some minis in her CORRIEDALE sock. So this is a non-superwash CORRIEDALE base that she has. She is discontinuing it, however, unfortunately, because it's really stunning. You may recall she had given me a set of 3 minis with the same base that were cream and a blue gray, the Harbor colorway, and a bluer. And I decided to get these to play with. And then Melissa very kindly gifted me another set. So I really love this orange in here, and I actually really love the orange with the pink and the gray and the green. So there will be some color play happening at some point with these, and I thought that if I were to make this sweater or even one of the other ones, I would probably either use a natural color that I have a sweater quantity of, but this yarn, which I used in my Noux vest, is the Hillesvåg Solje, and I have a sweater quantity of that, and I thought that could actually be quite nice because even though it's a purple, it's very neutral in some ways, and I thought it could look quite nice with some of these other colors. So I'm going to be playing around with that at some point. We'll see when that happens. Perhaps this spring. I don't know. But I really, really have enjoyed that. Yeah, so those are basically what I gave myself as a little treat at the end of the month. And I have not thought about what my treat for the end of February will be. We'll see. Maybe something completely non-knitting related. I actually was thinking about a pair of shoes. We'll see. Yeah, and then there was one other thing that I wanted to mention to you as a next, and I will have to go get it. Just a moment. All right, I have to go upstairs to get this bag. This big bag that I made at one point with some tartan fabric I'd gotten from somewhere. Now I can't even remember where I got it from. I'm gonna have to watch my podcasts from a long time ago and see where in the world did I get this fabric from. But I had this 100% wool fabric and I made this huge bag. And in here is a project that has been languishing. And it's a crochet pattern that is very sticky. That is sticky for some reason. So in here is a crochet blanket that I started a long time ago. Those of you who've been around may remember that I made one for my child, and then I decided to make a second one. But it got completely forgotten and has been sitting in that bag for the last couple of years. Oops, I'm pulling it out. It's actually quite large, to be honest. And I had obviously lost my mojo with this, using little minis of different kinds. And I really enjoyed making the other one. And recently I was watching Skeins of Dreams with Mega, the lovely Mega. And Mega was talking about wanting to cast on all the blankets and having a blanket make-along. And I thought, Mega, you might just get my mojo back. You might just be able to convince me to finish this, because it's actually it's well on its way. I could even finish it now and it would be a very nice lap blanket. So I'm hoping that this will get finished this year. Let's see if Mega, you can get my mojo to get that excited about this, because I really would like to finish it, and I've got all the ends to weave in, and I've got plenty of squares still waiting to go into it. In fact, I've got so many squares, I've probably got enough squares for another blanket. I even have a little bag here with minis that are waiting. I think I was, at one point I was carrying this little pouch around with me. No, I had another little pouch, but there are other minis in here waiting to become squares. Yeah, I really enjoyed making the first one, and I enjoyed making this one until I stopped enjoying it. So I'm hoping that I will enjoy it again. It may be, I know that Sundays are often called the Scrappy Sundays, and maybe I'll try and get on that. Certainly, if I were to do something every Sunday, 1 or 2 squares every Sunday for the rest of the year, that would definitely be finished. And then I would do a border along the outside. So yeah, so that's another potential plan that I forgot to mention earlier. If you don't watch Skeins of Dreams, I really enjoy Mega's podcast a lot. She's just a really lovely person. So yeah, so there you go. And I thought I would just very quickly mention a few books that I've been listening to, TV watching that I've been doing. So in terms of books, I listened to a short book by James Patterson on Audible. It was actually a free Audible, and it was a dramatized book. It was called The Guilty. I have to say, I thought it was very so-so. I loved the dramatization of it, but the story got a little tedious after a while. I didn't enjoy that very much. At the moment, I'm actually listening to 2 books. I started listening to one, I've put it aside because another book came from the library, and that has sort of a limited time to listen to it, so I thought I'll give that priority. So first I'm listening to a book by America Ferrera called American Like Me, which is a series of short stories by immigrants. And coming from an immigrant background myself, we came to Canada when I was 20 months old. Immigrant stories are ones that that resonate with me. So I wanted to listen to that. I've listened to 2 stories so far. One was actually hilarious because I could totally relate to it. Now these are all stories about being an immigrant in the United States, but I think being an immigrant is universal. I think there are certain universal things that come along with that. And then there can be, certain specific cultural aspects, of course. But there was a story where the person was saying that with her name, She's never been able to find a key ring or a mug with her name on it. And I could totally, it made me laugh because I was like, all my life I was like, I don't even look at the key rings or the coffee mugs or any trinkets that are sold that have names on them, because I just know that I'm never going to find Selma on there. So that was kind of funny. I'm enjoying those stories. Some of them are funny, some of them are more poignant. They're all over the place. But I stopped listening to that to listen to Fight Night, which is a new book by Miriam Tays. She is a Canadian writer of Amish descent. Her novels tend to have a certain bit of an edge to them, I would say. I can't remember the other novel of hers that I'd read years ago. That was quite a dark novel, quite a heavy novel. This one's definitely lighter, but there is a bit of a sardonic humor to it, but also there's a lightness to it. And I have an hour left of it, so I'm almost finished. I'm curious to see where it goes, but it's been an enjoyable listen. It's been an enjoyable listen. Oh my gosh, I'm really struggling with my first language today. The narrator is quite good. There are two storytellers in the story. There's a young girl and there's her grandmother. And the narrator does the young girl really well, but I think she just was not able to pull off the grandmother. And so the part where the grandmother was speaking as first person, I felt it was just weird. So I still am enjoying it, but she didn't do a very good job with that part, in my opinion. But I'm enjoying the book, and it wasn't a very long book. I think it was less than 7 hours long, so I'll be finishing that soon too. And in the last month or so, my mother turned 80, so we had a little celebration for her. As I mentioned last week, I went to a cottage and with a couple of friends, and we did some snowshoeing and some relaxing, and it was a lovely, lovely weekend. We went to Montreal yesterday to see my son, who is back from Uruguay. He ended up being stuck there a little bit because of COVID, but all is well. And he was finally able to come home. And luckily, university for the month of January had been online because of a bit of a lockdown here in Ontario and Quebec and across the country. So he was able to do schooling from Uruguay and then arrived last Sunday. So we went yesterday to see him, and that was really lovely. It was so nice to see my son again. Yeah, and speaking of Montreal, Knit City just announced their dates not too long ago, that Knit City Montreal is actually happening. I was supposed to go to Knit City Montreal in March of 2020, and we all know where March of 2020 went. To hell in a handbasket, as we say. And it didn't happen last year. I thought, it's never going to happen. And then it's coming. I'm so excited. This means that there will be a yarn festival in my future. April 2nd and 3rd, I believe. The first weekend of April in Montreal. I think the tickets haven't gone on sale yet. They'll be going on sale in March. I'm expecting that it's going to be timed entry, but I don't know. But I'll be looking out for that because I definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. Yeah, so that's very exciting. And I think that's all I have to share with you today, friends. I hope that you've enjoyed this time together. I certainly have, and I hope you've had something to work on or just sit back and relax. So take care, and we'll see you next time.
All the stars have come in close just to see you, I suppose, and they're a gleam dreaming, you must be dreaming. And the sun has said goodbye with a twinkle in his eye. He's left the ocean with sweet emotion. We go dancing in the rain, riding on the midnight train, away so slowly. And the moon is looking down on the sleepy side of town, and he's so lonely. I love you only. I love you only. All the birds have taken flight. It's their favorite time of night, when they can hear you from somewhere near you. And the palm trees try to bend to be closer to their friends. They're made of magic. Reach out and grab it. We go dancing in the rain, riding on a midnight train, away so slowly. And the moon is looking down on the sleepy side of town,